What up, fam? I am Dr. De Luna, and you are listening to Drop It Like It's Doc podcast. Today, we're going to talk all about how to make a baby. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, this falls on the shoulders of the woman, of the female in the relationship. But we're going to be talking about both parties because it takes two to tango. Listen up. So fam, it breaks my heart when I am working with usually a female, let's be honest, and she's saying, I've been trying to get pregnant for X amount of time and I feel like my only option is IVF. Let me say that there's nothing wrong with IVF. It is amazing that we have access to these different technologies that can help you become a parent. But also I want to educate you that there's a lot that you can look into to optimize your fertility and to work on preconception because you have a lot of power in this domain. And there's a lot of different things that we're going to talk about for both you and your partner. So again, grab your partner. No penile creature, a human with a penis, thinks that there's anything wrong with their penis. They don't. However, let me tell you that 40% of the time, it's the male factor in which someone cannot get pregnant, in which you cannot conceive. 40% of the time, it is the female, but 20% of the time, it's a mix or unknown infertility. But also, let me say, unknown infertility is usually diagnosed in the conventional world, in which they test you for like, what, 4 things? Then they're like, we don't know what it could be. If that is you, please listen to this episode because there are so many things that it could be. Let's start at the beginning, shall we? So it's kind of crazy when you think about how a female creates an egg. So a female is born with every primordial follicle, which is like the precursor to a perfect egg that they will ever have. So these are developed inside of their mother. So kind of crazy that if you are a woman holding a baby girl, you are holding your grandchild inside of your womb. Wild, right? So a female is born with all of those primordial follicles, and with every menstrual cycle, about 5 to 10 of them truly compete to be the winner. The winner wears a crown. I'm not kidding. The winner wears a motherfucking crown. And that is what is released with ovulation. And that process has a lot to do with the health of the egg, the health of the ovary, and the ability to ovulate, right? So all those things matter. Every 3 to 4 months, you are kind of replenishing that pool. The same goes for sperm. You have about 4 months to completely change the health and wellness of those little swimmers. And men, they have a much longer fertile window than women do. But I will say that the health of sperm and the quality of semen is drastically declining at a highly concerning rate, if you ask me, as a functional medicine provider. So again, both parties need to be on board. Both parties need to take a look at themselves, their underlying health, before you try to make a baby. Because things like miscarriage can definitely happen based on the health of the sperm and the egg at conception. Because your body, babes, it's incredibly smart. And if it does not believe that that is a viable pregnancy, it is going to pass it. And sperm is essentially DNA. That it's like a protein coat around DNA and it binds to the egg, they fuse, and that is creating a new life. So if there are any DNA changes, if there's anything that could compromise the health of that future child, your body will kind of move along until the next process. Stress influences this, of course, toxins do, and a lot of different nutritional factors, because I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but when you create an embryo, they have limitless potential. That single egg and sperm fuse, and then that is going to become a whole fucking human. So those cells have to be able to become hair cells, nail cells, tummy cells, liver cells. They have to be able to make everything, and that all depends on genetic changes, which a lot of the time has to do with things like methylation and demethylation. You might have heard these things before. Things like COMT SNPs and MTHFR SNPs. No, I'm not telling you that your genetics are going to make it so that you cannot get pregnant at all. Please never let someone tell you that. Do not let them take your power. But I am telling you that things like nutrition, because they play into methylation, are huge. So you building up your nutritional bank before you even try to make a baby is key to the health, the wellness, and the outcome of that pregnancy. So I am a huge fan of both parties taking a prenatal vitamin. It shouldn't just be the female taking a prenatal vitamin. And truly, I recommend taking it for minimum 3 months before you try. I would say upwards of 6 to be honest. And that's because you're building up your reserve so that when those genes are turning on and off, you have all the nutrient cofactors to do that. You need a lot of B vitamins. You need different antioxidants because there's a lot of inflammation that happens in that process. And also you want to shield this growing life from anything inflammatory that could trigger it to not become viable, to not develop optimally. And I think that in general, which yes, I might be making a stereotype here, but also a lot of the times I'm working with women. So they have come to me for underlying concerns already. They've come to me for menstrual cycle concerns, mental health concerns, gut concerns, inflammatory concerns. We work on that before they get pregnant. However, once again, no man thinks that there's anything wrong with their penis. They're probably like vaping, eating fried foods, going out with the boys, drinking. And let me tell you as well, that lifestyle is key. So even if you're taking something like a prenatal vitamin, there are studies, a lot of these studies have come out with IVF couples and just, what that process looks like. And essentially, if you are drinking more than 3 drinks per week, and some of you were like, that's not even a lot. That's like 1 bottle of wine. If you're drinking, it's a lot, okay. If you're drinking more than 3 glasses of anything per week, 3 beverages, that means 3 shots, whatever ounces of an alcoholic beverage that is. That's not like a Bloody Mary that has quite a few shots of alcohol in it, right? That significantly decreases your ability to get pregnant, your ability to fertilize an egg. That's a huge deal. So I would want to know that if I was having any issues getting pregnant, or if I just wanted to prepare my body in that way. Smoking? Please, if you are still smoking, know that it's killing you slowly. It is. Vaping is not better. If anything, it might be worse, okay? So gotta take that off the table. Stress, you know what that does? Raises your cortisol. You know what high cortisol does? It tanks your testosterone. Let me also just say, because this is one of my favorite things to talk about with men, if you have low testosterone, you can't just take testosterone to make it better, because you know what that is? It's kind of like male birth control. It literally will swim to your brain, tell your brain that you don't have to make testosterone because you're already getting it in a shot or a pellet or who knows what. So then it will make it so that you don't have healthy sperm. So if you are on testosterone, or if you are self-conscious that your testosterone is low, you need to take your stress seriously. And you also have to look at things like inflammation, because that's directly influencing your ability to make testosterone. And that's not just key in men, it's also key in women. We need testosterone to have a healthy brain structure, bone structure, libido, and it's also necessary for egg quality. So hormones and stress, you really need to take that seriously. Caffeine. Let me just tell you that I used to start my day with a huge fucking French press the size of my body. I don't do that anymore. I'm taking a break from caffeine. However, there are also studies that if you drink over 5 cups of coffee a day, and 5 cups, like a cup is 8 ounces. A French press is probably like 32 ounces. That's a lot of coffee. I love coffee, but that also significantly reduces your ability to conceive naturally. So I want you to be able to conceive naturally. And then we're gonna go into some labs and things, because so many of you have wanted to work on your fertility. You go to a fertility clinic, you ask them to test your fertility, and they might not even test your hormones. What? That's appalling to me. It's appalling. If they are not willing to test your hormones, truly just like walk out of there, because that is a huge determining factor of your fertility. Because things like estrogen in a man and a woman, but I'm going to talk about a woman here and a womb, estrogen is needed to create a thickness of your uterine lining. What do you think the baby burrows into? A uterine lining. So I would want to know if I had low estrogen, because also estrogen is influencing your ability to ovulate. And remember, you can only wear the crown. The egg can only wear the crown if you ovulate. And you want to ovulate, because that's how you make progesterone. Progesterone comes from the word pro, to benefit, gestation, pregnancy. So if you are not making that, if you are not ovulating, you're going to have fertility issues. And again, if you go to any doctor, any fertility specialist, whether they're functional medicine doctors or conventional doctors, I don't care. If they tell you that your hormones are not a part of your picture, you need to find a different doctor. Huge part of your picture. So outside of those 2 hormones, you also need to look at your brain hormones, FSH and LH, because you want to know if they're whispering at the ovaries and the testes, or if they're screaming at the ovaries and the testes. You shouldn't have to scream at them for them to make hormones, okay? But if your brain is screaming at either of those, it means that you need to work on the health of either the testes or the ovaries, which you can absolutely do. My episodes are not to scare you, even though I know a lot of times I'm doom and gloom, I know, but my episodes are to empower you. So you need to look at those things. I would also look at things like DHEA, because that's a stress hormone, but it's also a precursor for things like cortisol, testosterone, a lot of other reproductive hormones. I would definitely look at testosterone. Also, a note on testosterone. You have to see what is free, because bound hormones, if you're just getting your total testosterone, it's not telling you what's in circulation. It's not telling you what is bioavailable. So you need to get the free fraction and the total to get that complete picture. I would definitely want to take a look at your cortisol. I would want to know how your stress is influencing your inflammation, your ovulation, your sperm health, everything. I would also need to look at your thyroid. Those of you that watch this podcast know that TSH isn't even a thyroid hormone. So if your doctor's like, we tested your thyroid, it's perfect. I've worked with a lot of individuals before that either could not get pregnant, they're having anovulatory cycles, they have frequent miscarriages, and it's because they have something called Hashimoto's, which is actually an antibody reaction against the thyroid. So you would need a comprehensive picture of your thyroid, including antibodies. I would definitely also recommend taking a look at your vitamins and minerals, because then you could supplement. Again, you need to be on a prenatal. Men and women, you need to be on a prenatal, which is essentially a multivitamin. But also you might need a little extra of this, a little extra of that, and therefore labs can really be helpful. Something else that I think is very important is to take a look at your total toxic load, because you are not going to detox when you are pregnant. You're just not going to. It's really not safe. You want to do that before to create the happiest internal environment possible for your little one. So I would say toxins is more so optional. I think it's very valuable. However, of course, you could clean up your diet, your lifestyle, your environment before you even get to that point to see if it is an issue. But I think it's helpful. Other things like stool tests to look at your gut and your gut microbiome can also be helpful, because gut inflammation influences essentially your entire body. So an essentials test that I would say for getting pregnant is seeing what your sperm looks like. I will never forget in medical school. I will never forget. Sorry, I just had like a full-blown flashback, because my best friend collected her partner's sperm. They were perfect, but just that whole process, it was beautiful. So she collected his sperm. We looked at it under a microscope, and the doctor that we were reviewing it with was like, be careful, baby girl. He can get you pregnant. And guess what he did? And they have a beautiful baby now. But anyway, not all the sperm in that class looked good. Let me tell you, some of the sperm, first of all, there might not even be sperm in the sample. And you're trying to get pregnant for months, and only the woman is going to the doctor, and she's crying and she's sad and she's, going through it. And really it's because the male is not making sperm. It could be because there's a structural issue. It could be because there's something like low-grade cystic fibrosis. There could be something like, multiple damaging impacts to the testes. There could be something like a varicocele. Truly though, that are all things that can impact if you're even making them. But aside from, there should be sperm in there. There should be sperm in there. Some of them didn't look normal. Some of them had two heads. Some of them had two tails. Some of them didn't even have a tail. Some of them were swimming in circles. Let's just say that is half the DNA of your future child. You want it to be perfect. So I would personally want to know what the sperm looks like, because things like testosterone are going to influence the concentration, the volume, and how many sperm are in that sample. I will say that can also vary just based on how sexually active you are, if that person masturbated that day, because then there's just not gonna be as much in that sample, right? But also, I would wanna know that, because that's influenced by things like testosterone, which you can absolutely work on through diet, lifestyle, supplementation. But things like morphology, what it looks like, motility, how it's able to move, that is absolutely based on inflammation. And that is something that you have the most control over, because this world is full of things that are trying to kill you little spermies, including you putting your phone in your pocket. Please don't put your phone in your pocket. That's right next to your prized jewels. And ladies, oh my God, please stop putting your phone in your bra. Yeah, like you're not gonna get pregnant there, but please, it's really bad. So just wanted to throw that out there. Inflammation always has to do with inflammatory triggers for the most part. It could be due to chronic disease and things like that. And maybe that's what prompts your man to finally get labs to take a deeper look. Because again, no one thinks there's anything wrong with their sperm until you take a look. Things like antioxidants can be really helpful for the motility morphology piece. And things, like I said, to work on your underlying hormones, especially stress, can really help boost your testosterone. Something else that can really help boost your testosterone is just working on your weight. In both partners here, if you are obese or if you are underweight, that can directly influence your hormones and your ability to be fertile. And it's something that I feel like isn't talked about enough. And honestly, you need to move your body. You got to move it or lose it, truly. All the time. So other things that you can do to check out your underlying fertility are just being mindful of your entire environment. So you know how much I care about clean water. You know this. And if you don't, you're going to learn today. So please stop drinking tap water. Please stop drinking out of a Brita. It's not enough. And it's also just in plastic. So microplastics directly influence your fertility, as do all of the toxins in that water. That is an easy switch. If you ask me, it's an easy little switcheroo. If you don't believe me that your tap water is poison, go to the EWG Environmental Working Group's website and just type in your little zip code. You're going to be blown away in the worst possible way. I look forward to you having this discovery. You can also just stop drinking as much. You could stop smoking. You could take your self-care seriously. You can sleep. You can sleep. You have to sleep. That is a foundation of health, truly. So if you start to work on these things, fertility and underlying health, it's just going to be boosted in both partners. And again, I don't want you to have to go to a fertility clinic and for them to tell you that you're not fertile. I almost forgot to say something that is beyond infuriating to me. Sometimes fertility clinics only test something called AMH, which is anti-Mullerian hormone. This is something that essentially just tells you about your ovarian reserve. Because remember, females are born with all of the primordial follicles that they will have for their life. So that is a window into how many follicles you have. And yes, that will then mature into the queen that is ovulated, that will one day make your future child. But it does not tell me about your fertility. No, it does not. It tells me about your egg quality. And I have worked with so many women that come to me honestly devastated, being told that based on this one number, that there's no chance that they can get pregnant, that their only option is IVF. If you think I am lying, please go back to one of my earlier episodes with Tori Borelli. She shares her story, and follow her on Instagram, The Vita Well. She has 2 beautiful babies now and was told so many fucking lies. Sorry, I'm very passionate about this. She was told so many lies. And actually she found out in her fertility intake with an IVF specialist that she was pregnant. Let me also just say, if you've ever been pregnant but miscarried, you can get pregnant again. There is some underlying cause, but that doesn't mean that your only option is IVF. And again, I am not discrediting this incredible technology. It has helped many of my friends, many of my patients have a family that they've always wanted and wished for, but I do not want you to feel powerless in this. I want you to feel empowered, because there is so much that you can do to increase egg quality, sperm quality, all of your nutrient stores, everything that will help these genes turn on and off in this unbelievable molecular dance that makes your future little babushka. So, as far as you just making the family of your dreams, I just really want you to understand that it takes 2 to tango, okay? Your partner is going to be either the mother or father of your child, or the co-parent, whatever label you're putting on them. They are in this with you. So they need to be in it with you in the preconception period. This is a great time for you to have conversations about the foods that you want to eat, how you want to raise your future child, your values around things like, toxin exposures, EMFs, the world that you want to live in, what you want your house to look like. Speaking of that, obviously you need to check your house for mold, because you don't want to be pregnant or raising a child in a mold den, because you know this. I've lived in like 7 fucking mold dens at this point. It's not good for you. Not good for you at all. And again, you're not going to detox when you're pregnant. You get to do this all before you make a baby, so you make the perfect little babushkas. Wild. Pregnancy is wild. I am just amazed that you have sex. What a fun thing. You have sex and then you can make a baby. You can. Trust me. I think that so many women that I work with have had a fear about getting pregnant, and then they were put on birth control, right? And then they don't even realize that sometimes it's not that easy, that their underlying health matters, and that all those symptoms that you were covering up while on birth control, like heavy periods, migraines, clots in your periods, in your period blood, horrible menstrual symptoms, that they're all telling you something about your hormones, which all influence your fertility. So please listen to your body. Now is a phenomenal time to learn. Now is a phenomenal time for you and your partner to get on the same page about lifestyle things, because you're creating the environment for your little one inside of you. So I hope that you got a lot of information from this podcast. If you are interested in blood work specifically, take notes, listen back to this episode, write down some of those hormones, write down some of those tests. Honestly, that was pretty basic to me. It wasn't even close to as comprehensive as I go in my new patient intake, because I need to know about everything in my patients. I need to know about their blood sugar. I need to know about their inflammation levels. I need to know about their metabolism, their lipids, all of their hormones. I need to know about everything, because it's very important to me that I know this. But also, most semen tests, you don't have to go to a functional medicine doctor to do this. And also conventional doctors a lot of the time are like, doesn't matter. Let's just test your AMH and syphilis. I wish I was joking. I literally wish I was joking. That a lot of my patients, they go to their doctor and like, hey, I want to get pregnant. Can you test my hormones? They're like, yes. We'll test one hormone that we chose, AMH, and we will test to see if you have syphilis. Outside of that, you should be good to go. So that, like, this is a true fucking story, okay? But you can do a semen test at home. My favorite is Legacy. They don't pay me. They could. You could, if you want to. I would love to get paid. But Legacy, you just have a little love time at home, or your man could do it himself. Send in the sample and you will know about concentration, morphology, motility, volume, concentration, all of it, so that you can listen back to this episode and go, maybe it's a hormone thing. Maybe it's an inflammation thing. Maybe my man should finally stop vaping. Maybe he should stop drinking a case of beer every night. That could be it. Sorry, men. I love you. I really do. I love men. I'm not trying to hate on you, but also it takes two to tango. Thanks for listening. I hope that you learned a lot. And for those of you that want to become parents, I'm very excited for you and this journey. Thanks for being here.